thank you for joining us here on the Gee and Ursula Show. As you know, Artemis II just sent astronauts farther from Earth than we've gone in more than 50 years. And it felt like one of those rare moments, Gee, that pulled everyone's attention skyward. And I'm happy to say joining us right now is NASA astronaut Dr. Stan Love. He's a veteran of spaceflight who has worked on the Hubble and the International Space Station. He also has ties here locally to the University of Washington. And fun fact, he was a classmate of mine at Churchill High School in Eugene, Oregon.
Nice.
So before we get into space, Dr. Love, when you were at Churchill in the early 80s, did you already know then that you wanted to be an astronaut?
So I love physics. I loved space. I knew I was going to do something related to space. And so I knew I was going to work in that field. But it wasn't until I was in college and an alumnus of my school, Harvey Mudd College, came back after flying in space and basically told us, we were all a bunch of science nerds, basically, if you're sitting in this room, you're qualified to be an astronaut, you should send in an application. And I went, As it happened, astronaut is a job you can apply for, and if you're very fortunate, get.
Man, I've never talked to an astronaut before, so Dr. Love, this is amazing, man. Thank you. You're not related to Buddy Love, are you?
I don't think I am.
Okay.
There are a lot of Loves in the Seattle area, though. Both my parents were from Seattle.
Yeah.
And we got folks in the house.
Hey, Dr. Love, tell us what it's like to do some work that the world depends on, but we never see. We never see what astronauts do, but y'all do a lot. What's it like to do that work?
Well, you can see it. NASA TV streams it almost all the time. So every day is the most important day of work in your entire life. And at any moment, there could be a bang and you'd be dead if you get hit by orbital debris. So it's a little stressful, but we practice and practice and practice on the ground before we go do things. And we get used to performing under pressure. Nope, you can't just take somebody off the street and put them in that situation and expect them to do well. But you would be amazed at what you can train people to do. And once you get sort of used to the idea and used to the environment, you can get up there and do all your work and even have a pretty good time.
So I want to ask you about Artemis II, though, because it seems like it really captivated this entire nation. It was like the perfect thing to happen at this moment in our country. And you have been around spaceflight for a long time. Why do you think it really resonated with so many people this time around?
I would have to place that credit or blame, depending, firmly on the crew. So I have been a Capcom on and off for almost 30 years now. And I've seen a lot of crews, and I have never seen a crew that cohered together as well as this one did. They got along with each other so well. Their relations with one another were just perfect. And they also, more than any other crew I have ever seen, went out of their way to engage the ground. Like if they were talking about a certain spacecraft system and they happened to know the name of the flight controller down there in mission control who was working that system, they'd say their name on the radio. I was the Ascent Capcom talking to them as they launched up towards space, and they said Stan in all their calls to me. Other crews haven't done that. So I think this crew worked very hard to make the world feel involved in this flight, and I think it paid off immensely. What you have said about it, I've heard from so many other people saying, I just felt like I was part of this mission. I felt like they were flying in space for all of us here on Earth. And they did a spectacular job. I hope if I'm ever on another crew that we can do half as well as the Artemis II crew.
Dr. Love, I do some of my best thinking on an airplane. I come up with the best ideas. I'm being serious when I say this. I really do. And sometimes when I'm in an airplane and when you're flying over to a city, you look down and you see the homes and the houses, and it's just kind of like, oh man, wait, I'm close to that area. Look at how small that street is small. But you have a view even higher. What does that do for you and maybe other astronauts? What does that do for your view of the world, considering we argue about politics every day? I'd imagine you guys are up there just giggling like if you guys could just think bigger, you wouldn't be arguing about all that stuff. Your thoughts on being up high in the sky?
You have just described what they call the overview effect. And almost all astronauts come back from space and say, yep, we are one Earth. Once you get up there and the divisions among people are less evident and you see the Earth as a whole thing, and then especially for this crew, and they got very far away from the Earth and just a little tiny dot, and everything that ever happened in human history and all the people who ever lived are on that little tiny dot over there. It does change you as a person. It makes you wish that we could get along better down on this little tiny dot. But you've made the best expression of the overview effect that I've heard. Also, you mentioned flying in airplanes. When you're in low Earth orbit, now this mission didn't spend much time there, but on the International Space Station and back on the shuttle, we were in low Earth orbit. By coincidence, you are flying 30 times faster than a jetliner to stay in orbit, and you're 30 times higher than a jetliner. So when you look down, the rate at which things crawl across your field of view is almost the same as when you're looking down from a jet plane flying between cities, except instead of, cities and mountains going by underneath you, it's oceans and continents. But the rate at which it moves is the same, and it's kind of an interesting correspondence.
Wow.
I love seeing the passion. I love seeing the energy you have as you describe all these things. You have had an incredible career. If you could share with us a couple of the moments that really stand out to you, that if someone says, what's it like to be you as an astronaut? What do you bring up?
Oh my goodness. Well, I would have to start with my space flight. Back in 2008, I was a crew member on the Space Shuttle Atlantis on STS-122. We had a 2-week mission, launched out of Florida in a space shuttle back in our payload bay. We had a new laboratory module for the space station. We spent a couple of days in orbit catching up to the space station. Then we docked with it, used the robot arm to pull that laboratory module out of the space shuttle, put it on the side of the space station. Our crew did 3 spacewalks, of which I was a spacewalker on 2 of those. And that is just a life-defining event. That first spacewalk, actually, we had to change crew members at the last moment. So I went outside and I wasn't trained for it. And that one was very difficult. But my second spacewalk, the one I trained for, we got out there, we got our work done, everything went pretty well. And then just at the end, we're hanging out outside the airlock, getting ready to come back inside. And our space station plus space shuttle stack docked together, comes up flying toward the northeast over the Pacific Ocean. We come up on the west coast of the United States. It was February. Usually in February, the weather in Seattle's not too good in February, so I don't get to see Seattle much in February, but it was a clear day from Baja, California to Vancouver, BC. And we just came up over the west coast of the United States, and I'm out there, and here's everything that I knew as a child. My hometown of Eugene, my sort of second home, Seattle. I was educated in Southern California. So everything that I knew in my whole career and childhood just comes rolling up underneath. And here I am in a spacesuit looking out at it. And that's my defining moment from shuttle flight.
Dr. Love, what's the best meal you've ever had way up there, man? Did you have some steak and eggs, some pork chops, and some grits? What'd you have?
You ready?
Yeah.
Creamed spinach.
Ew.
I won't touch it on the ground, but for some reason, the creamed spinach that they had for us, and it's freeze dried, so you got to put water in it and kind of mush it up for a few minutes, put it in the food warmer so that it's not tasting like wallpaper paste. But your sense of taste changes when you get to space, and there's things that you may not like on the ground. You get up there and, oh yeah, I gotta have some more of this.
Wow. Yeah, because you guys' diet, what would you call the diet up way up there? What would you call that diet? Like some people do, carnivore diet, Atkins diet, keto diet. What would you call the diet up there?
User's choice.
User's choice.
Seriously, if they've gotten smart about this now that we keep people on space station for 6 months at a time, and if they don't like the chow, they're gonna have a horrible time. If you ever read like the journals from polar explorers from like 1908, It's a lot of snow and
Yes.
ice at first, and then after that, it's only about the food. So when you are getting ready to fly in space, you go to our food lab, you try everything that they have, and you pick your favorites, and then a dietitian builds your menu out of that. Now, on station for 6 months, I wasn't there, but I hear all the stories. Even the menu you chose yourself gets a little monotonous after a while, but then you start horse trading with your buddies. And then you can start horse trading with the international astronauts, the Russians, the Japanese. They have some interesting food, but it's new and different, and you trade and everybody's happy. But the gist of it is you get to pick your favorites and build your menu out of that.
So Artemis II was wildly successful. It has, I think, for the current generation, has probably inspired a lot of people to want to get into space exploration. What do you envision for the future? What does the next chapter look like?
The next chapter looks like we put human beings on the moon again for the first time in over 50 years. So we're working hard toward that. Someday we'll be ready to go to Mars. My agency talks about it as if it's going to happen soon. I have doubts.
Yeah.
In particular, right now with the amount of traffic we have to and from low Earth orbit, 7 people living there permanently for over 20 years, rotating crews, hundreds of launches a year to low Earth orbit, dozens of returns. When we have as much traffic to the moon as we do to low Earth orbit today, then we'll be ready to go to Mars. But
Dr. Love,
that big step, and we are not as close as we sometimes talk about.
well, Dr. Love, I know you got a heart out, man. We really appreciate you coming on and joining us, man. It's been really cool I got all kinds of questions, but look, it's been really cool to have you on the show, man. And that whole overview effect, I'm gonna look up that because I can tell the way, even talking to you, you have a great energy in talking to you. It's really refreshing.
Well,
And
thank you, sir. I think what I do is immensely cool. It's worth devoting my career to. Occasionally, it's worth risking my life for. So the chance to share it with the people who pay the bills
yes.
is always a treat.
Yeah. If we could just get politicians to be that way, like,
Yeah.
hey, the people pay the bills. They don't treat us so nice. Dr. Love?
Yeah, and Dr. Love, I want to just say on behalf of the class of 1983 in Eugene, Oregon at Winston Churchill High School, everyone is incredibly proud of you.
Thank you so much. I'm a proud Lancer to this day.
Thank you.
Take care.